Right. Thanks, Bob. Hello, everyone. Good to have you, onboarded on this course for the, RPA Business Analyst, with Bob and Abstract America. So we're gonna have as Bob mentioned, around 6 to 7 weeks of training, followed by, your mock interviews and the core. Every session that we conclude would be followed up with the kind of assignment that is given to you, and so you have to go back, kind of do some research,
Mm.
and then kind of submit your assignment by the subsequent week. Just a quick introduction about myself. So my name is Paul DeBacker, so you can go ahead with my first name, I mean last name, you can call me Paul. So I have around 9 years of experience, but being into the profession or the domain of robotics process automation for last 4.5 years. I mean, that's where RPA have generally have boomed into the market, right? So
Mhm.
right before that, I was working with agile and then application development on Python and stuffs like that. But yeah, currently, I'm an uipath certified developer, solution architect, and I'm working with Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and I'm based out of India.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's a quick introduction about myself. So I hope, yep, we will have we'll have an interactive sessions on a daily basis. So yep. So throughout the sessions, you can obviously, put your questions, yeah, or else you can park it aside for the end of the session as well. I mean, whichever goes fine with everyone, right? So, yep. So expecting to have a good session with you guys, and happy learning. So just to start off with, this is the course overview that I just want to share up front. So it's we're gonna start with the very basic overview of what is RPA and what is robotics process automation, followed by our subsequent sessions every week. An overview of the business analyst roles, the responsibilities, what sort of work does it relate to, followed by certain opportunity assessment, where we're going to look much more deeper into how do we analyze a process, how do we see that, and or certain projects or automation potential. We look into a lot of feasibility study that is both technical and functional. We do an overview of the uipath tool and the components. How does the tool look like, what is the robots build up, I mean, how are the robots built up? What is in robot orchestration service? We do a process deep dive assessment. Uh, we do understand what is requirements gathering. How do we design certain design documentation for the business analyst role, which is one of the crucial tasks as a business analyst in RPA. Then we look into the testing phases, how a business analyst is involved into the testing side of RPA. What sort of planning do we do, how do we create test scenarios, defect logs and things like that. uh, the next module that we talk about would be on a go live preparation. So when your projects are about to go live, what's the roles and responsibilities that you're gonna perform. We discuss certain real-time business use case scenarios, along with the discussions, and ends up with your mock interview for industry ready. So that's the entire overview of the course, how we plan it up, right? So today's session is the very first one. So we're gonna just look. So I'm not gonna go much deeper today. Just to understand, just to make certain things clear about the concept. Just to have the right approach, develop the right mindset of what's the entire process of RPA is all about. What is robotics process automation? What are the industry best practices that's happening across and things like that. So before we move ahead, so anyone who, I mean, from the badge, right? So, did you ever hear about this robotic process automation? Did you get a chance to kind of learn something from the internet? Do you have any prior knowledge, or it's kind of brand new? How is it?
Yeah, it's definitely brand new for me. I've never actually um, uh, done this before. More necessarily the robotic automations. So this is definitely a new course for me.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and I think that was Lud, right? Okay, thanks. Anyone else heard about the concept, have a little bit of knowledge, or at least you know what is the definition which you can share with us? And obviously, I'm going to explain, but I just want to check, uh, you know, to make it a bit interactive, right? So if you could start giving some answers, I mean, that does not need to be perfect. uh, we are here to learn, right? So I don't expect the 100% perfect answer, but something that you can share.
Nemo says this is new to her as well. So yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, perfect. Good that, yeah, it's something new that you guys have enrolled for, right? So obviously, so the intensity should be more to kind of, learn this together, in much better way. So yeah, Clyde says I'm unfamiliar as well. Okay, thanks for the responses. Perfect. So let's move ahead then. Yeah. So let's first look into the definition of what is RPA, right? So just to give you guys, a background of it, right? So this is kind of a textbook definition that we have, right? But when you start working on an industry standard, everything doesn't go on a textbook basis. But if you want to know what is an RPA, what is the definition of it, so why it is the full, I mean, the acronym stands for robotic process automation, right? So why it is called as robotic? So it's an application of technology. So RPA has evolved as a technology over the last 3.5, 4 years, right? And it has come into the market with good amount of new generation technology methods, and it has just kind of boomed faster and faster. So the application of technology that allow companies to set up computer softwares in the form of robot to capture and interpret existing applications for transaction processing, data manipulation, and communicate with other digital systems. So what RPA does is, so everybody have, all of us have heard about automation, right? So we know what an automation is. So any task that is being carried out and that's being eventually programmed or scripted using any sort of a programming or a scripting language, and the system performs that task by itself, is generally is what an automation is, right? So we have certain activities, we do certain tasks by ourselves, we carry them out manually. But the moment we write some scripts or we program something, right, wherein the system itself does it by itself, we say that, hey, that's an automation, right? So why it's robotic process automation? Because the intent here is that we take business processes, you know uh, and as we move ahead, you're going to understand what are the parameters and criteria. So we analyze the business processes which is happening on a daily basis across the organization. Let's say you have a lot of functional teams in your company, right? So any company that you go, they have operations team, they have functions team, they have developers team, lot of different domains people work, right? And we have a lot of tasks that we do on a daily basis that is time consuming, that is very much repetitive, high in volume, and things like that, right? So the intent of developing bot, I mean, the concept of RP has come into the market so fast, is that it helps you to develop software robot, nothing like a physical robot, but eventually it's a software program that's running on your computer, which acts, which is given as the name of a robot, right? And it helps you to perform certain tasks. I think I'm getting some background noise. Somebody can go
Please,
into mute.
please mute yourselves, please. Sam, please mute yourself. And Clyde, thank you. Otherwise, I'll
Yep,
mute you all.
yep, thank you. Perfect. So now, yeah. So what the intent here is, we develop certain, so the RPA, robotics process automation, provides us the platform to develop software robots who can carry out tasks that a human does. Okay, so it's like a replication of what humans are doing. So let's say, anything that you do by your own. So let's say you're logging into your Facebook application, right? So you go to Google Chrome, you just type facebook.com, it takes you to the login page, you type your username, you type your password, you hit login, then it takes you to the Facebook. Now, this is a task that you do on your computer. Now, you are doing it repeatedly, and it's a very simple example, right? It's a small task, right? So let's say you are tired of, developing logging into your Facebook on a daily basis. So what you can do, there are two things. You can just go and save your password in your Google Chrome, right? And every time you hit facebook.com, the website doesn't require a password. The browser, it takes directly from the browser and you log in. That's what we generally do, right? But let's say you don't have your personal computer, right? And you have computers which is shared by others. So what do? You cannot save your password in Google Chrome, and you say, hey, I don't like logging into Facebook daily, let's have a bot created. So what we do, you go ahead and just develop a robot software, using any of the RPA platforms. So we talk about the platforms as well. So you say that, hey, I'm going to design a software robot that's going to log into the Facebook on my behalf, and then I'm going to browse on my social media. So you go ahead and code something on the platform. You design a robot that logs in. It'll open the Google Chrome on your behalf. It'll go to the Facebook site. It will type your username and password, and that's encrypted and saved, with a lot of encryption methods within the RPA platform. And it logs in for you to the Facebook and then terminates. So it's a very simple example, right? And let's say there are thousands and thousands of activities and tasks that are done in organizations on a daily basis. So to kind of reduce the human effort, to kind of reduce the manual activities and the tasks that's happening, so the intent is to have certain robots, and these robots are able to perform transactions, do processes, do data manipulation, talk with other digital systems. So let's say we have a lot of ERP systems. We have Oracle, we have Siebel, we have a lot of other applications, we have CRM tools and all those things, we have SAP, right? So all these things are soft digital tools. So let's say you have something where you want to take some data from an ERP system, and you kind of have to do some filtering on an Excel, MS Excel, and then you have to kind of send out the data back to your manager, right? And this is a task which is you are doing on a daily basis, and which is repetitive, let's say. So we go and your company says, hey, I don't want you to go and do this manually every day. Let's have a software robot developed who does this work on your behalf end to end, right? So this is what is RP all about. So we intend to design software robots that mimics human action. It runs locally on computers, it runs on server level as well, right? And it is able to perform transactions, processes, data manipulation, communicate with applications, fetch data from one application, put it back to the other application, and thousands of other activities like that. Okay, so this is what is the definition of what does an RPA stand for. So it generally targets to automate processes within the organizations. And trust me, RPA is something which is not for somebody's personal use, because you have to invest a lot on this technology. But yes, you can go ahead and a lot of companies who are working on RPA platform have released their softwares and everything on a trial version, as an open source community version which we can use. But when you look into an enterprise level, it's nothing solely for an individual or small scale industries, but it's mostly implemented for MNCs or bigger enterprises, because the investment is a little bit higher when you try to you know adopt RPA, right? And there are a lot of other things. So once a company is investing on a new technology like RPA, they expect a lot of huge benefits as well, right? And we're going to talk about that. So before we move ahead, right? So any questions or doubts on the definition till now from anyone? You can put your question on the chat as well. That's also fine.
No, that was a pretty good description of what RPA was. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for the response. So let's move ahead. So now we're going to understand certain perspectives or parameters of, why RPA. I mean, why should we take this new technology? What's there in it? Why should we learn it, first of all? And the second thing is why companies have started investing on it. And trust me, companies like Deloitte, companies like EY, PwC, Accenture, Cognizant, I mean, all these, US based top MNCs, service based, product based, whatever it is, they have started investing huge, huge, huge in RPA. I'm not saying, and I'll be wrong if I say starting, they have already started and they have already invested a lot, and there's a lot of implementation of RPA that is going on, not only into the services, but we're going to talk about the various domains as well. So I'm just going to keep that aside. So, I mean, why RPA is the next question. So since we now know that what is the definition of an RPA, why we are developing robots and what it does, uh, the RP implementation is very, very beneficial in these days on an enterprise level. So companies who are investing on RPA, and let's say they are automating a lot of tasks. So let's say there is a task which a human is doing in 50 minutes or 1 hour or 1.5 hour on a daily basis. If that similar task is automated and given to a software robot, okay, and the robot would be eventually capable of doing that task in 15 minutes on a maximum or on an average. So if you see the drastic reduction of the time in carrying out the task, so let's say you work 8 hours in your company, right? And in 8 hours, if you are taking 2 hours to complete each task, so on a time span of 8 hours, you would be able to complete 4 tasks, right? 4 into 2, 8, simple calculation. Now think like that. You have a software robot which does the same work in 15 minutes, which you are doing in 2 hours. So now a robot has 24 hours to work. It doesn't have any specific time. It doesn't follow any shift timing. It doesn't need any break. So imagine the number of processes a robot can perform. It can do your work. It can do your colleague's work. It can do your colleague's work. I mean, just on a layman's term. So that's how the implementation is getting bigger and bigger, and it's getting scaled up to a huge extent. So the first benefit that the company looks, as I said, is a rapid ROI, and ROI is nothing but return on investment. So let's say if a company is spending, kind of $10 million, in investing in an RPA to develop the infrastructure, buying the robot licenses and everything, right? So eventually your company would expect certain amount of benefits. Let's say $10 million they're investing, right? So they would eventually try to automate at least 10 to 20 tasks so that they can kind of release the activities from human dependencies and kind of push it uh, to execute much faster. So whenever you are investing on an RPA, the enterprises target to have a huge amount of benefit, which is like the return on investment, and they reduce this execution time of tasks from 1.5 hours, 2 hours to kind of 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, which is taken by a bot, because bots, it is programmed, right, and it's gonna execute much faster, right? But yeah, there are cases where the bots also take time. Eventually when you go through the course, we get to understand the certain issues also where the bot faces, right? And yeah, so I'm going to replace the word robot with bots. Okay, so don't get confused, because that's the trending word these days in RPA. They never say it's robots, they just say it's bot. So yeah, don't confuse with robot and bot, it's the same thing. The trending word goes, the buzzword is bots now. Yeah, so that's why. So I'm used to kind of saying that that kind of, I mean, that word bot instead of robot. That's how the industry is. Every meeting that I attend, I'll say, hey, my bot is doing like this. So that's how. So next we look into is enhanced processes. So I mean, with eventually when the companies decide to get into RPA, they have to remodulate or redesign their processes as well, because certain companies have processes which are very complex and it's not that clear. People are just manually doing it so that you know uh, logically they don't develop or think on a process wise. So but having said that, RPA is getting implemented, so those companies have started to enhance those processes so that they can put them into a software robot. And eventually, let's say if you are working for a client, you are doing a task for 2 hours, and I introduce tomorrow something which is doing the same task in 15 minutes. Wouldn't your client be happy? So that's how it brings better customer experience, which is the third point. And the fourth point is pretty simple: eliminate repetition of work. So let's say you are doing any reporting task, right? Every day you go to office, you generate a lot of reports, you deal with Excel, you kind of deal with financial data, you take companies invoice processing and things like that. Insurance companies deal with customer data, credit card selling, lot of repetition of work, right? Everything is stopped. You don't have to do repeated work. Let the software bots do the repetition of work, right? Then this sort of things, which is happening at the first column, eventually improves your service delivery to your customer, your agility to manage the processes. Or wherever you are having 10 people doing the repetition of task, you can have two software robots or software, two bots which can do the same amount of work that 10 people are carrying out. Eventually you have a cost reduction. So when your number of workforce is reducing, right, the companies, let's say the companies are investing huge on RPA, they want a return on investment. The return on investment is also to reduce the number of people. That's where the most of the cost saving comes. So that's why it says cost reduction. So that means rather than paying salaries to the employees to do repeated work on take huge amount of time, companies is saying, hey, let me invest on a software robot which can execute much faster, right? And I'm going to give you certain real time scenarios which are mind boggling. But yes, you might, I mean, since it's, you guys said it's new to you guys, and there are certain things that's happening across the industry, which is really really amazing. Yeah, but I'm not going to push everything fast. Are we going to go slow? Now, non-invasive technology, why it is non-invasive? Because it's scalable. So today you have one bot developed, within a month you can have 10 bots developed, which is performing 10 into 10, 100 processes are automated eventually in a matter of 1 month or 2 months. But yes, that push is required. You still need number of people to develop those bots for you, and you still need people to kind of maintain and support those bots for you, because eventually bots are nothing but it's a software. It can go wrong any day. So you eventually should have a backup. You should have the process in line where you can kind of fix any bug that comes in and then kind of re-execute the bot, right? So that's where it comes in with compliance. A lot of compliance related work has been done on RPA, so that that the platform remains industry compliant with respect to securities, company policies and things like that. And generally if you see robots being doing a work, right, so it has to comply with company security rules. There should not be a security breach, there should not be a policy breach, there should not be the bot should not be non compliant, right? Every company has its own cyber security compliance policies, so it kind of matches all those compliance as well, right? Scalability and flexibility. So scalability, I've already told you guys, you might have one bot today, your company is started new, right? So they have one bot, within a span of 4 5 months they might have 10 bots developed. So that's how the scalability grows in RPA. The implementation is much faster, and the final benefit is the insight and analytics. So since you have your data digital, okay, you have robots which are performing on your software computers, you have the you know you have the provision of dealing with data and bring out much more analytics into your business concept. Let's say how many process. So if you are giving a task to a human, right? You have to manually verify how many tasks are completed, how many tasks are not completed. All this managerial work comes in, but with bots it's not the case. uh, so with bots, you know it'll go perform the task, it will automatically generate the report for you, it will give you how many processes it has worked on, how many processes it failed, and send you an email with the report. So see the luxury that the people are getting with the enhanced implementation, right? Wherein if let's say you are a manager and you have 10 people under you, right? So you have to manually go and see each and every people's work. But what if you have two bots added to your system, wherein they are doing the performance task on a daily basis and sends you an filtered report, which is the concept of insights and analytics, right? That hey, I have processed 100 tickets today, I've worked on 100 transactions, I have processed 80 of them, 10 of them were information lagging, and 10 of them failed. So and that's quite obvious. It makes people much more happy, because things are happening much faster. So that's why the RPA comes in, and takes a center stage in the current profession, and it's one of the new generation technology that's being very much predominant into the market. So before we move ahead, any questions on why RPA? The chat, sorry, is this the same as Cambridge Analytics? Sorry, I didn't get the question. Is this the same technology as Cambridge Analytics? I'm not sure what you're referring to as Cambridge Analytics. I mean, if you're relating to any course from the Cambridge University, I'm not sure, but yeah, analytics is very different. RPA is very different. Analytics goes into data visualization and things like that. RPA deals with automation, wherein we develop robots, or as I say, bots, which can perform tasks on behalf of a human, right? And it works seamlessly with on along with various application. It's a private company that uses AI. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of Cambridge Analytics, but yes, AI is one of the new generation technology. But yeah, and I am not sure about the relation that you are trying to make, but RPA is completely different. Analytics is different. Yes, the implementation of AI is getting into RPA. Now, with this implementation of AI and ML concepts, where we have machine learning, we have design thinking, we have deep learning, we have NLP, natural language processing, and things like that. These all other new generation technologies are now getting embedded in RPA, and we will talk about certain use cases where we can relate to how AI and ML is getting embedded into RPA, how we are dealing with, how what sort of use cases are being run in the industry, where we see that AI ML integration is there, which is kind of aligned along with RPA. We're going to talk about that as well. And I hope this answers your question to an extent. But yes, both of them are different technologies. Okay, yeah, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions from anybody?
No, that was a pretty good description of what RPA is. This is all new to me, so I'm pretty much learning from you, sir.
Hey, perfect. Thanks for your response. Yep. So now let's move on to understand, as we are talking that, we have software, we have bots that's going to automate processes, that's going to, reduce the human effort, that's going to reduce, repetition of work and things like that. Now you might have the next question that, hey, you are talking about processes and things like that. Now I'm working in a company, my company has hundreds of processes, running every day. How do you expect me to go and identify which processes can be automated within RPA? So to answer that question, this is the response. We have 4 thumb rules, and these are like industry standard, nothing hard and fast, but these are the best practices or industry standard rules that are followed. But yes, there could be exception cases where this is not applied, right? So that's the disclaimer concept for you guys. But yes, most of the processes that you think of would eventually, if they don't fall under this 4 criteria, you have to do much more deep analysis to check whether those processes are automation potential or not. But on a general note, the four ground rules or the thumb rules that we have to check if a process is automation potential within the RPA platform is whether it is rule based or not. So let's say you have hundreds of processes in your company, right? Now all these processes that are being and by processes I mean, tasks. There could be a lot of different teams. Some team might be working on reporting, some team might be working on invoice processing, some team might be dealing with vendor management information, right? There's a lot of processes. There's n number of processes that runs. So any process that you see is rule based in the sense it follows a logical step. For example, if you talk about a reporting automation, okay, or a reporting process, people who generate reports for your bosses or managers, right? The reporting analyst, what so let's say the eventual task of a reporting analyst would be to log into various applications of the company, download those reports from the websites or the internal portals, right? Bring them together, open up in an Excel, then put some filtration with the with respect to what the company's filter criteria is. So if you want to identify the transactions which are processed, then you want to identify the transactions which are failed. You want to see how many transactions are performed for which client, right? So they apply the filtering within Excel, and kind of generate reports, then send it to individual clients, send it to the management, send it to the managers, and things like that. So if we target this automation of reporting, so you would eventually see that it follows a logical step and it's a rule based. That means I have to log into applications, I have to download those reports, I have to put them in Excel or whatever. We do the filtering, we generate the finalized report, and then we send out emails to the managers or the clients. So this is a logical process which is a rule based process. So certain which processes which are rule based and follows a straight path, those processes can be thought of being eventually automated using RPA. So that's one of the concepts, an example that I can give you, right? Then digital initiated processes support by digital data. Obviously your data that you are having has to be in digital format. It cannot be a hard copy data that you are trying and expecting about. But yes, there are processes in line where your hard copy of data can be converted into a soft copy. But eventually, unless and until you don't have your data in a soft copy or on a digitally enabled, it becomes tough for anybody to develop a robot to do certain tasks. So you ensure that your data is digitally triggered. Then functioning and stable process. So let's say the process that you are trying to automate in your team or in your company is unstable. And by unstable I mean every 2-3 months there is a conceptual changes in the process. So we do not tend to automate those processes, because anything that you automate and that changes within 2 months doesn't make sense, because you would be following certain logical steps and business rules to develop a robot that goes and performs the task for you. And you are saying 2 months down the line, hey, my process has changed now, we don't do like this, we do it like this. But the bot that we have developed is eventually based on your old process. That means now your bot which was developed for performing the task needs to be modified based on your new process. Now every 2 months, 3 months, if your process changes, it's very tough for you to modify your bots every 2 months, 3 months, right? It's a investment of time, investment of rework and things like that. So we eventually decide to automate processes within RPA which are stable. Okay, at least any process that doesn't change for a period of 6 months to 1 year is when you can find that, hey, this process is potential for automation. So anything that is rule based, anything that is digitally triggered, anything that is stable and functioning within your company, right? That's the three. And the last rule is high volume in process. So if you are processing anything which is very very high in volume, let's say 100 transactions on a daily basis, right? 100 transactions on a daily basis is tough to do manually. So if you have anything that is rule based, digitally triggered, and stable and high volume, we say, hey, we take this process and we'll go ahead and automate it within RPA. So this is how the things the thumb rules work, right? Uh, so let me check if there's anything on the chat. Okay, somebody is asking anything. Softwares automate processes too. So can we term bots as softwares, or it's a combination of software? It is nothing but a software. So that's what I'm saying. So bots are nothing but eventually it's a piece of software. Okay, because it is programmed, it is designed, it is there to run on your system. So there's nothing much. You cannot consider it as a hardware robot because we are not designing anything physically. It's all on the system. So bots are nothing but programmed softwares. That's all. It's just that, you know, in terms of the technology evolution, the name has been given as software robots and we call it as bots. Okay. Okay, I guess somebody's adding notes. Is it Bob or someone else?
No, that's not me. I'm also wondering because I see.
This is something strange, and I'm not sure if it is
Sorry,
taking.
that was me. I didn't know other people could see that.
Okay, hey, no problem. I mean, that's fine. You know, I was just wondering. You know, I thought some robot generated automatically and started doing stuffs like
No, my bad. I can get rid of those.
that. Hey, no, that's fine. Perfectly okay. There's one more question. Then why call it new tech since softwares have existed for a long time? Okay. Uh, so I'll tell you, let us go much more into the session. You will understand why it's a new tech. I mean, it's never a new tech, it's a new generation technology. So there's a difference, with this. So new generation technologies includes robotics, process automation, AI, ML, deep learning, design thinking, NLP implementations, and all these things. So these are all considered as new gen technologies. These are all, eventually everything is a software. You cannot classify, it's just a classification of softwares. If you say, and it's just, goes by the words. If you say Java, if you say .NET, these are all old technologies or old softwares. When you talk about AIML, design thinking, NLP, Python, R, I mean, programming side, when you develop something using that, these are RPA, because it has come very new into the market, right? And there's a lot of concept that is behind it. It's not only, we term it as a software, but the execution, implementation, the deployment that goes in involves certain new methods and processes which were not done earlier. So that's why we call it as a new gen technology. Okay. So, and I hope that answers your question. Perfect. So next thing is, so now we know what is RPA, why RPA, and how do we identify a process on a basic four thumb rules of RPA, right? So now now we want to know that where are the enterprises using or exploring the concept of RPA, and that's the main question. And as I said that I'm going to refer to this is, so it's not only the services companies, the companies from other domain. If you could see on the diagram, the sky blue bars on the both the right and the left hand side, it starts from finance to banking, technology to software, telecommunication, manufacturing, government, healthcare. All these domains have started to implement RPA. And as far as my experience is concerned, finance and healthcare are having 70-80% more implementation of RPA. And between healthcare and finance, financial sectors are having too many implementations of RPA, because financial sectors deals with invoice processing. Okay, so they have data to deal with, right? They receive invoices from clients, they receive the data of financial data and everything, which are generally rule based and calculative. You have to perform a lot of tasks, right? If you look into the invoice processing, it's a huge domain. You receive, your financial companies receive hundreds of invoices on a daily basis, and they manually extract those data and put it in an Excel and things like that. So with the help of RPA, it's all automation potential these days. You don't have to manually fetch your invoice number from the invoice copy. You have designed robots which goes and takes up the extraction of data from the invoice, puts it wherever you want. If you want it to put it in Excel, it'll put it on an Excel. If you want to put it on a database, it'll go and put it on a database. So that's why the integration of RPA or the alignment of RPA is very, very, very easy, and kind of doesn't have much restriction. So RPA can talk. So the RPA platforms that's there, and our training is solely on uipath, right? So I'm just not getting into a uipath because we'll have a session on it. So I'm just talking in general on RPA. So any of the RPA tool that you take is much more easy to, I mean, the design is in such a way that it can interact with other digital applications or softwares much easily, right? And doesn't have much dependencies on it. And always remember one thing: all your RPA technologies that you have works on the top of your existing application layer. You don't have to change anything on your application level to make your robots designed in RPA work on. Okay, so now once we talk about the industries, we see that the RPA platform is able to automate stuffs, which is, let's say, if I'm planning to make an email automation, that's possible. If I want to automate something on MS Word, Excel, that's also implemented. If I'm willing to implement something on Java based application, I can still go ahead and automate. If I expect my bots to design charts for me, that's also possible. Citrix and ERP, any enterprise resource planning tool like Oracle and things like that, it still works. Any Citrix environment application, like let's say we have the VDI infrastructure, wherein we don't have the applications installed on locally on a computer. We have the applications installed remotely on some virtual servers, and we use the VDI concept to connect to that. And VDI is nothing but virtual desktop interface, wherein you do not have your, let's say you have your MS Office installed on your computer, right? But there are certain applications in companies which are not installed on the computer that is given to you. That's there on the remote server, and you have to log in remotely to access those applications. So these are all on the Citrix environment, where we have a virtual infrastructure developed. So implementation of robots are possible even on the virtual environment. So these are the areas, and these are the technical domains and industry branches where RPA is exploring, right? So any questions till now, guys? Anything you want to ask before we move ahead? Okay, so looks like there are no more questions. Yeah, so moving ahead. So now I want to get into the trending RPA tools into the market. Okay, so we spoke about the entire, in general RPA. So you can see two diagrams on the left and the right hand side of this presentation, right? So RPA as a technology has evolved, and there are a lot of companies which has, who have developed the, RPA, the tool or the platform wherein you can design robots, you can execute robots. You need a software for that. You just cannot. So the platform of RPA is currently having top 3 tools into the market, starting with uipath, which we are targeting to, in our course, where we will be doing a business analyst training on the uipath, application. But there are other 2 competitors into the market of uipath in the RPA domain. The second one is Automation Anywhere, and the third one is Blue Prism. So if you see both the left hand side is a Forrester review survey, and the right hand side is a Gartner's review for a Magic Quadrant. So Forrester and Gartner's are the global leaders in performing reviews on an enterprise level, or on top technologies and industries. So Forrester and Gartner have both marked UiPath as the #1 robotics automation tool. Okay, for if you see the Gartner review, I mean, that's by to May 2019's report. And if you see the Forrester one, that was Q2, I mean, Q2 2018 report, where they have marked UiPath as the leader, wherein followed by Automation Anywhere and Blue Prism. So if you could see, there are 4 quadrants. The first one is leader, then strong performers, contenders, and challengers. So there are a lot of other companies who are trying to develop RPA tool. Like we have Work Fusion, we have Cofex, we have Crayon Systems, we have Pega Systems, we have Nice, we have Win Automation, we have Softomotive, which is, and things like that. So a lot of other companies are, trying to develop robotics tool for, performing this automation, right? But as of now, the industry is getting into 3 top tools are, if you're going into, is UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Blue Prism. So these are the top 3 RPA tools into the market today, right? And with UiPath leading, uh, you know, I mean, UiPath has immensely grown as in the RPA platform in last 2.5, 3 years, right? And so that's why we target to complete the UiPath business analyst course. But yes, one thing is, we would be eventually specializing in UiPath RPA business analyst. But yes, it still doesn't stop you to be a business analyst in any of the RPA domain, because it's not only with UiPath. Eventually, if you do a specialization, right, it's just that you know a bit more about UiPath. But eventually also, when you are getting into the industry to work, if you, let's say your company uses Blue Prism, so you still fit in as an RPA business analyst, because eventually the ground rules are same. It's just that, different companies have come up with different development, processes and things like that, but the ground rules are eventually same. So uh, RPA as a whole has some standard things which we are going to learn, that you can apply irrespective of which tool your company is using, right? And tool dependency comes when you are a developer. So if somebody is developing robots, he has to know in and out of UiPath. And when he switches back directly to, let's say, Automation Anywhere, might not that be efficient. But on a functional side, as a business analyst, you are not never going to hard code anything, right? You're not going to program. You're going to deal with the implementation. You're going to manage the process. You're going to, identify process and things like that, and that remains standard across any tool that you take. Okay, so the next thing is RPA pipeline management process. Okay, so how does a process initiation, so let's say, we know that how there are 4 thumb rules or ground rules which helps us to identify, an automation, a process is automation potential or not, correct? So now let's say you have identified a process in your company, or a couple of processes rather, that you want to automate, or you want to put them as automation projects, right? So then what happens? So you have your list of processes submitted by your business unit or functions. Now how does the pipeline works? So if you develop a software, you have a software development life cycle. So your software development goes through a phase. It starts from requirements to planning to solutioning to design to development to testing and then to deployment, right? So even in RPA, once you have your process listed, let's say out of 100 processes, we have identified there are 20 processes which are automation potential in RPA, and now your company has decided to go through the process of RPA for those 20 processes. What is the pipeline that you follow? So you take all those 20 processes. You first thing is we do a process analysis. So we go deeper into those 20 processes to understand what the processes are, what are the applications that are used in those processes, how many people are working, what is the manual effort estimation and things like that. Okay, and we depict a picture, we create a document of the process analysis. Then that process analysis is taken to the next phase to, accompany with automation opportunity. Now out of the analysis, we have to see that which are the parts where the automation is fitting in. Let's say if you analyze a process end to end, sometimes we find that, a process is not 100% automation potential. A certain portion of the automation still requires a human intervention. Okay, that could not be programmed because of the process or the business logic, or the process dependency. So in the second part, we identify that what percentage of automation opportunity is possible, what is the feasibility of that automation, how many let's say if once my process is analyzed, I say that 90% of that analyzed process is automation potential, whereas the 10% remaining is still requiring human dependency because of the complexity of the project, something like that. Let's say some processes have approvals for financial projects, when they process invoice and everything and they generate out the payment to, and when they release payments, it requires a human approval. So generally companies say, hey, that financial approval, let's still make it as a human dependency. We don't want to automate that approval process because it deals with money. Anything goes wrong, programmatically, we don't have somebody accountable and things like that. So in those cases they say, hey, let's keep the approval part as, still as manual, wherein let the bot perform the entire process and generate the final amount. And let's say whoever is the manager who is allowed to approve that budget or that amount, let him do it manually, because we want to keep a human check. So then we say, okay, so let's automate 90% and keep that remaining 10% as human intervention. So that's where our analyzing of the process comes in, and we identify the automation opportunity, and then it goes into business case and prioritization. Okay, so we develop certain use cases of that process, which are the steps that going to come first, then which are the steps that going to come second, which are the steps that going to come third, how we going to prioritize that entire process for the automation. Then once it is ready, it goes for approval. So whoever is your concerned project manager or the authority to give approval for that design or the use case, you go and get the approval. Once it is approved, you start the RPA deployment. So the RPA deployment is again, your development, your solution, your technical thing comes in. How you going to program it, how you going to solution it, how you going to design it, how it needs to be implemented and things like that. And then eventually the output is your automated process. So that's how, your list of processes goes through the pipeline, with various phases inside it, and eventually your end product is a process that is automated and carried out by a software bot. So any questions, guys, on this pipeline management process? Oh, I think everybody has gone into mute.
No questions from me.
Okay. So I just want to understand, is it conceptually clear to you guys, or how is it? Okay, there's something on the chat. Let me check. Okay, thank you for the confirmation. Perfect. So we're gonna let's move on to the next topic then real quick, right? So now once we talk about the entire RPA concept and things like that, so now we're just trying to see what is the RPA enterprise governance roles that are involved. So if you have thought of working into the RPA domain, so it's and we are doing a business analyst course, right? So the entire RPA platform doesn't depend on one single role. There are multiple skill set or multiple people with technical, non-technical, functional skill sets are required in an RPA governance team. If a company has decided to develop an RPA technology, so it should have a governance body, right? So you should have somebody who is your RPA sponsor, I mean the management of your organization who is giving the funding, and somebody is the head of RPA, probably the manager who would be managing the RPA domain, right? Followed by, you see these are various skill sets of people that you need. You need an infrastructure engineer, you need a solution architect, you need an RPA developer, you need an RPA business analyst, you need a change manager, you need a supervisor and things like that. So there are a lot of various roles that are involved into the entire RPA governance. And where do we fit in? So we fit in exactly here. So that's why the course that we're going to do was going to put us in that red box. So we are doing a business analyst course out of the other roles that are there. So business analyst and then lead business analyst. So that depends upon your experience, your number of experience that you have, the role, I mean the company that you are working on and things like that. So we would be targeting the business analyst area, uh, and from this entire governance body of RPA. Okay, and so that we get a business analyst understanding of how does a business analyst carry out the RPA tasks and stuffs like that. What would be your roles and responsibilities, your work, things like that we're going to learn. So that's where we're going to fit in within RPA business analyst or lead business analyst. But yes, there are other roles that comes still, as I said, developers with the lead developer, project manager with the lead project manager, solution architect with the lead solution architect, infrastructure engineer with the lead infrastructure engineer. So I mean, yeah, based on your experience, you become a team lead, you become a lead project manager, things like that. But yeah, these are the various roles that are involved into your RPA governance of an organization, right? So this is the RPA deliverables and ownership. So as I said, when you develop a software, you go through a software development life cycle where you do requirements, you do solutioning, you do design, you do development, you do testing and things like that. Even in RPA, we have RPA life cycle. So if you see the top round circles, okay, so those are, it says prepare RPA is the first phase. So where we do the reviewing of processes, we analyze the processes and things like that. Then the process goes into solution designing, okay, which is done by your solution architects, right? Then the process goes for a RPA build a solution. Then it goes for testing, then it goes for stabilization of RPA, and then it's a continuous improvement process. Now these are the different checkpoints of the life cycles of RPA. And if you see the red boxes marked is wherein the business analyst fits in each of the phase. So business analyst has the role and responsibility to play in each of these phases in RPA. If you are talking about prepare RPA, the business analyst is there to review and perform the baseline research of the process. On the solutioning design, the business analyst is there to create the documents, create the design documentation, get the sign off from the client, design the test scripts. On the build RPA solution, yeah, I'm going to come to the chat. I think there are some questions here. So build RPA solution phase, business analyst is there to update all the documentations. Test RPA is there where business analyst will be there with the testing phases and record the test result. In stabilizing RPA, you create case studies, you give training to the client, you do a sign off, you do a handover. And finally, when you have a constant improvement, business analyst performs a performance assessment of the bot. So these are the various roles of business analyst in each and every phase of your RPA life cycle, starting right from the process identification till the performance evaluation or improvement of a bot. So even bots, we analyze performance of a bot. Okay, if the bot is expected to complete a task in 5 minutes, is it completing the task in 5 minutes? Or is this taking 6.5 minutes? If it is taking 6.5 minutes, why there is in 1.5 minutes increment of time? So all these things comes into picture. So that's how the eventual roles gets involved for a business analyst. So we first saw the things of the phases, and then where we as a business analyst fit in each of these RPA deliverables and what we need to do. So in our subsequent session, we're going to talk about each and every phase, roles and responsibilities much deeper. Okay, let me check the chat for questions. There are a lot of questions, I think. Is this training only for this position or does it apply to others? So this training is solely for business analyst profile, where we're gonna talk much about the business analyst roles and responsibilities in the RPA platform, and our specialization would be on the uipath tool. Okay, I think Bob has already answered it. Okay, thanks, Bob. Okay, perfect. So with this, I think yeah, we are at the end of today's session. This is what I wanted to kind of discuss on very first session. So from tomorrow, we're going to look about much deeper with respect to this, our business analyst roles and responsibilities, and we'll take phase wise, we'll take topic module wise and things like that. We're going to go much deeper, right? So Yep, open up for questions before we discuss for the assignment. So anything that you guys have to say about, or any clarifications that you need?
Yeah, I just had a question about like locations. Like this is like way ahead of like in the future, obviously, but like once
Mm-hmm.
we do get these positions, since that's the end goal, like do they offer up like is there opportunities to travel and stuff? Because like you mentioned like where we're based and stuff, so like what's the likeliness of us like changing where we are?
There's jobs all over the world, Nemo. It's so they if they're gonna hire you in like India, it could be India, it could be China, it could be America, it could be the Northern Pole. There's jobs everywhere, I'm assuming.
Yes, there's opportunities everywhere, and if you're specifically looking at opportunities in the U.S., yes, pretty much every state you can find companies which are implementing this kind of implementation anywhere in the U.S.
Okay, thank you for that. I also had another one about like the different enterprises. There were 6 on the PowerPoint, but are there like more like outside of those 6 mentioned?
As far as which fields, which industries you can get employed in, I believe pretty much everywhere you can have companies implementing this kind of technology, and I think Paul talked about that. Paul, right?
Yeah, right. So, see, these are just, I mean, the top domains, where you have companies from manufacture, government, healthcare, telecommunication, technology, service. Technology software covers everything, both service and product based. And then only we have finance and banking. So, are you referring to any other specific industry, particularly which is not there?
I'm still thinking about that. I will get back to you on that.
Yep, sure, perfect. So, I mean, see, these are the 6 major differences, but yes, every out of these 6, you might have subdomains, sub processes. Let's say for technology and software, you can still again divide the software companies into 2. So, software companies are always of 2 types. One could be a typical service-based company, which is a proper IT service-based company which provides services to its consultants or clients. Another could be an IT product based company. So let's say Oracle is both service, and it's a product based company which provides or which develops ERP softwares or application, but again it still provides services to its clients as well. If you talk about Accenture is a service based company. It doesn't have any products of its own. Cognizant, it's a service based company, right? If you talk about UiPath is a product based company. They are providing or building softwares on the RPA platform, right? So, I mean, subdivisions are always there, but these are the 6 major industries where the implementation is happening. Now, if you take healthcare, you still divide healthcare into insurance of healthcare. You go and much more, you split this healthcare into medical, you can split it into a lot of other stuff. So I mean, yeah, these are the major names, but yes, you can always divide this into various subdomains as well.
I had one last question. Like,
Mhm.
since you work in this position, like, what is the work environment like? Like, what are the hours? Like, what's like just a quick snapshot of like the day in the life of like a RPA?
I mean, that solely depends upon your company, right? And eventually, I don't think any company expects you to work more than 8 hours, and in terms of environment, it's very different in every organization, right? So, I mean, it completely depends on what sort of team you have, which company is it, what sort of policies the companies are having, right? And every company has its own processes and uh,
Was it
employee.
more like a group effort where like you're working with other people, or is it more individualized?
Right.
It doesn't matter. Like, it could be any.
No. So yeah, eventually if you talk, yeah, that's a very good question, right? So See, as I said, that there are multiple roles involved into an RPA, and to carry out a project, you just take out RPA. You take a normal software application development project, right? I mean, without the team, I mean, yeah, individual efforts are still very important, but your individual efforts is eventually to have a team collaboration, right? So you obviously need to collaborate, and with RPA, trust me, collaboration is very, very important, because you are working on an RPA domain, but your eventual client would be somebody who is on the process side, somebody from the operations team, right? Somebody from your client's business or functional team, so you need to collaborate with them, because you have to understand their process. So unless and until you put yourself on their shoes, you are not going to understand the process. And as a business analyst, unless and until you understand the process which you are going to automate, you would eventually realize in the subsequent sessions that how much collaboration do you need, because you need information from them. So based on more topics that we discuss and go through the modules, you would be able to depict and graph of collaboration that you need, because you would be doing your job as a business analyst, right? You cannot go and develop the robot directly. Somebody who is technically developed, or somebody who's an engineer, has to go and code it. So you have to pass on the information to the coder or the programmer, right? The programmer comes back to you when he or she has a question, because you are the one who takes care of the process, because you are the business analyst, right? You have to again work with the solution architect, who's going to give you the solution of the process that you are trying to automate, right? So this is a chain of activities that are there, and multiple skill sets of people would be working. So definitely you expect good collaboration and understanding, that I could obviously tell you.
Thank you.
Perfect. So yep, there's a clarification. Okay, RPA will work with whatever technology company has. Will work with whatever technology a company has without a need of doing any replacements. Oh yes, that's a very good point. So RPA platform that you see is always applicable or interacts with the top of your application layer. So you don't have to change your applications to implement RPA. So let's say currently you are using Outlook application for sending out emails. If you want to automate emails, you still can go and use Outlook for automation. You don't have to change Outlook to some other application to implement RPA. So RPA it's designed in such a way that it talks to the application on the top of the application layer, and any application it can interact with. It's designed in such a way. But there could be various methods of interacting. Sometimes could be direct, sometimes could be at the back end, sometimes could be through the database. And these are all technical things. Technically, you have to eventually analyze later, but yes, it can talk to any digital system. Right, perfect. So we're getting some good questions. Okay, so anything else, guys? Any other further questions or clarifications you need?
No.
Okay, perfect. So this gives me the chance to explain you the assignment one for you guys. So what I'm gonna do is say, hey Bob, I'm gonna have a separate group created. So just share me the list of final list of the students, right? So I'll again have a separate group for the Dropbox, and I'm gonna add them so that they can go ahead and upload the assignments back there. Okay. Right. So guys, yeah, this is your assignment one. So I'm sorry. Yeah. So everybody, have you guys used Dropbox by any chance? Any
Yes.
idea about? Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna send you guys an email once I get your names from Bob, and I go ahead and create a shared repository in Dropbox. So we will have folders inside the Dropbox with your individual names. Okay. And so what you guys have to do is, so we will be having assignment at the end of every module or every session. So what you guys need to do is, so I'll be creating, so let's say I think in this batch we have around 5 people. So I'll be creating 5 folders with your individual names, and inside that what you need to do is you have to create folders with the assignment number. Okay, so let's say this is the assignment for today, which is assignment 1. So please refer to the specific days slide so that you put the correct assignment number. Okay, so you create a folder. Let's say I will go ahead and create assignment folders as well for you guys. So what you need to do is, once you complete your assignment, you need to go ahead and upload it in the specific assignment folder. So if you are doing assignment 1, ensure you upload it in assignment 1 folder under your name. And if next tomorrow's session you will have assignment 2, so ensure you upload it under the assignment 2 folder, like this. So before we wind up, so it's a quick explanation on the assignment 1. So I want you guys to go back and research in the top 3 RPA tools into the market. Okay, and what you need to do is you have to identify the major differences between the top 3 tools. You know that we have the top 3 tools in the market is Automation Anywhere, UiPath, and Blue Prism. So go and do a bit of due diligence on what these 3 tools are all about. Which one, we know the UiPath is marked best, but still go ahead and identify the differences. Perform an analysis on the revenue growth, tool flexibility, and customer experience on all of these 3 tools. So what are the customer feedbacks on Automation Anywhere? What is the customer uh, experience feedback for UiPath and Blue Prism? What is the revenue for the companies and stuffs like that? Identify 2 challenges based on the customer review for all of the top 3 tools. Now, when you talk about advantages, you obviously have disadvantages. So we talk about pros, we do talk about the cons as well. So identify any 2 challenges which the customer have informed or have written online in any of the blogs about UiPath. Something like, hey, this is the challenge they have faced, let's say with UiPath or Blue Prism or Automation Anywhere. So identify 2 challenges that the customer have faced for each of these tools, right? So that's a assignment 1 for you guys to go back and do a research. So I'll be creating the drive probably by end of today and drop you guys an email, right? So you can still start working on your assignments. Just wait for the email confirmation with the link from my side, so that you can go back and upload, and ensure you finish your assignments before next class. So we generally target to complete it by Sunday or Monday, because again on I yeah, Monday on your time, it's Tuesday my time, we have the session. So ensure you complete every week's assignment by this subsequent week's Sunday, right? So yeah, we're gonna have another assignment after tomorrow's session. So we should be eventually Monday and Tuesday for you, so you have time till Saturday or Sunday to complete and upload it. Okay, so yeah, if you have any questions on the uploading, accessing, revert back to me on the email. Okay, so I think, yep, that's all I had. Anything, Bob, from your side to conclude?
I think I'm good. Thank you so much, Paul.
Hey, perfect. Then Heath, yep, thanks everyone. See you tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye bye.
See you.